on embarrassing the Chinese authorities over human rights went straight to the very symbol of the Games, the Olympic flame. The scuffle that followed at ancient Olympia in Greece was brief, but Chinese and Olympic officials now fear that disruptions of this kind may continue right up to the opening ceremonies. CTV's Roger Smith reports.
As they awaited the Olympic flame, Beijing's top organizer was in mid-speech when protesters ran up behind him, unfurling a black flag with the Olympic rings turned into handcuffs. Police scrambled to arrest the three men, but none of this was broadcast in China. As the disruption unfolded, state TV cut away to pre-recorded scenes from Olympia. Still, the group behind the protests insists the message was loud and clear that oppression in Tibet must end.
Although the Olympic flame is sacred, human rights are more sacred. And today was a good opportunity to show that.
But China called it a misguided attempt to undermine the Olympics.
Protesters, I will say your attempt will never succeed.
The flame was lit, and so was the torch, in the hand of a Greek athlete to begin the long relay to Beijing. But he didn't get far before more protesters tried to block the route.
Stop killing in Tibet!
While Reporters Without Borders wants world leaders to stay away from the opening ceremonies, there's been occasional talk of a full boycott, but the Olympic boss says no way.
The major governments do not want it, and the sports community definitely does not want it.
Jacques Rogue insists what he calls silent diplomacy has already improved human rights in China.
Is the situation perfect? By no means. Has it improved? I'm saying yes.
An assertion these protesters don't believe. More protests are expected as the torch passes through 20 countries en route to Beijing. But so far, the idea of a boycott, China's worst nightmare, isn't finding much traction. Roger Smith, CTV News, Ottawa.
These protests by Tibetans and those who sympathize with them have more to do with human rights than the area becoming independent. Canada and other countries acknowledge Tibet is part of China. Located in the Himalayas, Tibet is sometimes called the roof of the world. Unrest has been almost constant there since China asserted its control with military force in 1950. Under pressure, the Dalai Lama fled into exile in India in 1959, but is still regarded by most Tibetans as their spiritual leader. He says Tibetans are cruelly repressed by Chinese authorities, but even he says he wants cultural autonomy for the region, not independence.